Hey guys, so today is my birthday. So I thought I would share my own hero story because I mean, if you're not your own hero, whose hero really are you? So this is my wonderful friend interviewing me about my surgical trauma and my healing journey. I hope you enjoy it and I hope it gives you a little bit more insight into who I am and where I've come from. And also, it was just nice to share on my birthday, celebrate a little bit of progression, and yeah, enjoy, guys. Have a great day.
Please edit this out. So you've been asking all the women to share their stories, and it's been great to hear all their stories. I thought it would also be good to hear your own stories. So would you like to share a little bit about your own journey?
Yeah, for sure. So my sort of story all starts when I was a kid and I went into hospital for pioneering hip replacement surgery. I was in hospital for about 6 months to a year all in. It was very sort of new age surgery. They hung me upside down, like on a rack-esque kind of bed for several weeks to pull my hips back into the place. Your hips are like this. My hips, when I was born, were like this. So they had to hang me upside down to pull the bones back. And then they opened me up, broke both my legs, and pinned the bones back into the sockets. Throughout this time, I was in a wonderful children's ward, and my very few memories of actually being in the ward were very good. But the reason that I started doing all this work and bringing all of these women together um, to voice their stories and share them is because these experiences when I was a child had such a traumatic effect on me, but nobody told me that that was even a possibility. Because in the grand scheme of things, I got out of that hospital experience healed and now can run around. So for me, it was a very good outcome. But that didn't change the fact that I was traumatized. And for the whole of my life growing up and including now, I've dealt with these really intense trauma symptoms that have shaped my life and shaped who I am, but I never knew about it. And I always felt so alone in my journey and actually so ungrateful and unworthy because I had a great outcome, but I didn't feel good. I didn't care about myself. I didn't value myself. I didn't perceive these experiences that were a gift as gifts at all. I just felt like I was broken and alone. And what I wanted to do was bring these ladies to light from all of their different surgical experiences through their own trauma and everything like that, and share these with the world so that in the hope that any young woman that sees these knows that she's not alone and that it's so normal to have the doubts, to feel unworthy in your own body, to feel broken and just a bit lost. I just hope that somebody sees it like I should have, like I wish I had done at that point to know that I wasn't alone instead of trying to navigate and fight myself the whole time. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit more about why I kind of brought all the ladies together and why I want to continue doing it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like a very long, hard journey, but also it sounds like you've been really brave. And also, I'm glad that you had a great outcome out of it. And you acknowledge that not everyone may have that same outcome. So what you're doing would probably help people um, cope with their journeys. So thank you for doing what you do, Kim. Um, I I am pretty sure that this would have been a really hard journey for you. So I'd be interested in knowing how did you manage to cope with all the changes that came with the surgery and that whole healing journey after that? Because you did say that you felt quite alone at one point. How did you cope with that, and how did you cope with all the changes after?
If I'm being very honest, I didn't cope with it. I pushed it down into my body and just tried to ignore it. I tried to regain the control that I had lost as a child and the lack of control I had over any of my own thoughts. I just felt like chaos. And I chose to try and regain that chaos by being very intense into exercise, really building my body up to be strong, um, to be thin, to be beautiful, basically combat everything that I perceived about myself because of my surgery when I was a kid, that I was broken, that I was scarred, that I didn't look normal. So I would gravitate to anything that helped me feel more control over my body that I'd lost the control over. But I also couldn't handle the thoughts that I had in my head. I couldn't handle kind of like the day to day. So I gravitated to drink, drugs, and everything like that, and was incredibly outwardly confident, loud, and everything like that, because I believed that the louder that I was, the more crazy I was, the more I would be accepted. But then nobody would actually question me any deeper or ask any questions, because obviously if I'm acting a certain way, then of course I'm okay. Of course I'm okay. So it basically, I was doing anything to detract from anybody asking me any questions about myself or about what happened, or even dealing with myself. So the honest answer is I didn't handle it very well. And actually, it took several years of putting myself back into the hospital, gravitating back to my trauma state, to actually wake up one day in hospital and be like, I cannot be this fucking unlucky. And think, all right, I really need to start listening to myself. I need to take a step back. I need to see what's actually happening here, because the next time I wake up in hospital, I might not be able to wake up. I might not be able to get up. I might not have my legs, have my arms. Like, I needed to start listening to myself and changing my thoughts and my actions, because what I was doing was not working. It was going to put me in an early grave. So the healing started with a truck to my backside, would be the honest answer to that. But since then, it's been just very small incremental changes. Shifting perspective, actually taking the time to slow down and listen to myself, rather than being very reactive in every situation, just trying to remember to be proactive. And also finding a greater why than myself, like a greater purpose than myself to focus on, has been incredible for my healing. Just talking about it to these other women and realizing that I'm not alone, even now, has been amazing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Um, I would like to, I have a follow-up question on that, Kim, if I may. Like, so since you've realized this, and sort of have wanting to go back in the same patterns, how have you so what are the kind of things that you do to not go back into those patterns and not end up in the hospital, as you said?
It's well, so far this year I haven't ended up in the hospital, which is a really good achievement for me. So I'm really hoping all these little changes are actually going to keep me out of the hospital this year. But actually, it's probably the biggest change is the power of pause. And it doesn't take much. It's just before I take an action, before I do anything, I just pause. I just stop. It's like a couple of months ago, I was traveling and there was two pathways over a ditch. And one of them was a very obvious, very safe way of going. And the other one was a more fun, but definitely could crack at any moment um, pathway across the ditch. And I instantly was just like, saw both of them and was just like, yeah, but that one's more fun. I immediately, my whole body kind of shifted to the more dangerous option. And then I kind of got to the front of it. And it was just that second of like, do you need to do this? What are you trying to prove? Is this a sensible situation? And it was literally just in that 1 second of being more aware of the patterns that I have and more aware of the thought processes that I have, just being able to jump in the middle of that, but this one's more fun. And changing that identity that's just like, I do the reckless thing. That's how I'm cool. Do you know what I mean? Having all of these identities to being reckless is just like who I am. So it's just like these tiny little things that will put me back in the hospital. Like if that log cracked, it's another injury. But just being so much more aware of my actions just helps me pause. I mean, I still want to do it, but it's just like that pregnant pause, that just taking that second can actually help me evaluate whether it's worth it. Like, what are the consequences? What is the actual risks of this? And I battled with actually wanting to do this because I love how sort of like, yes, let's go for it, that I am naturally. But I had to learn that there's a barrier and there's a gray line between going for something because you're excited for it and that it's really cool, and then just being reckless and putting yourself in danger because that's just your default. Also, the guy that I was with being like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Really helped that pregnant pause come full, full as well. So yeah, having good people around you that kind of can see your thought processes and just go, okay, check, you do not need to do that today. That really helps too. That really helps too.
That is so powerful, the power of pause. Um, so other than pausing, what's a piece of advice that you'd give to someone who's in a similar situation or dealing with post-surgical trauma?
It would be kind to yourself and be radically honest with yourself. It's been absolutely game changing for me and so eye-opening to realize all the fucking lies I tell myself and have told myself, and how much those lies have been influenced by external influences rather than anything that I truly believe. When you're dealing with surgical trauma, you disassociate with yourself, with your body, and it's been amazing to start building that connection again and rebuilding that relationship so that I have appreciation of both my body and my mind, rather than just using my body as a charging thing at anything I wanted without actually thinking or taking any consideration to how my mind is feeling, which is why I struggled with so many chaotic thoughts and sort of overwhelm and anxiety so much. But I was so good at disassociating that I could just be like, shut it off, get the body doing it, then the mind can fucking do whatever it wants afterwards, which obviously puts you in hospital a few times when you're not thinking about what you're doing. So radical honesty with yourself and awareness is a must. Like, I used to keep telling myself I'm okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're just normal. You're just normal. And I don't think I'm broken, but I do believe that my brain is rewired differently to other people. And I have to make changes and exceptions and processes that will support that rewiring. Instead of thinking like, oh, why do I need a schedule? Like, normal people don't need a schedule. Why do I need more help? Like, what if someone sees that I'm doing this and they think, fuck, she's broken. Like, why does she need that? I was always so worried about other people's opinion of what I was doing to heal myself that I just didn't do it because it wasn't cool. It wasn't what I associated myself with. Like, and it took a lot of sitting down and being radically honest with myself of who I wanted to be and what was really holding me back. And I mean, like, it was always me that was holding me back, but what part of me? Was it the stories that I had been telling myself? Was it the beliefs that I was holding on to? Was it the person that I had that had helped me survive all these years, who had got through all these injuries, who'd like carried the trauma for so long? Like, we carry the trauma for so long that we're so attached to it, such our identity. And being radically honest with myself has helped me just sort of open my hands and start letting go of that person that was surviving the trauma, so that this new identity can come forwards. And, you know, she's still traumatized, but she's learning how to use that trauma brain and get the most out of it and how to play with it, if you know what I mean, become a partner with it rather than fight against it. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, there's something in there that you mentioned, Kim, that I would love to unpack and get your thoughts on as well. You mentioned that a lot of things that were happening for you were external. So being radically honest with yourself and then identifying that you have a different need, like you have different needs to a lot of other people. And a lot of times the society is built in a certain way where certain things are expected from you. But when you are dealing with trauma or some heavy stuff, um, you you work differently. So I would love for you to unpack this a little bit for me, around the external pressures, or why you thought that you had to fit in and be a certain way, or that sense of shame or whatever, like, you know, where you're like, oh, I don't want anyone to see that I'm broken, or I don't want anyone to see that I follow a schedule or whatever.
Mm.
Would you like to comment on that?
So I think it all stemmed from being that kid and sort of having that control taken away from me while I was in surgery and feeling the burden of having to prove myself more than anybody else because I felt I was already starting behind everybody else. I was already starting with a broken body. I was already starting I started school late. I started school in plaster. Um, did swimming lessons with big scars. I used to have to wear like big shorts. I was always looked different and was always different. And I just grew up trying to prove that I wasn't, and constantly chasing the approval of everybody outside me that I wasn't broken or I wasn't different. So I was constantly trying to fit in with what I perceived was how you fit in. So I was a big tomboy because I gravitated towards the guys because the women were too emotional for me. I found guys much more shut off, so I didn't need to talk about my emotions. So I would hang around with a lot of guys to avoid ever sort of dealing with anything or having to be that emotional. So now I'm working really closely with women. It's been so helpful for me, as well as sort of them just having that beautiful connection and like that more emotive, expressive way of dealing with things. It's been a game changer for me, and I hope it's a game changer for the ladies that I'm talking to as well. But yeah, it's the constant expectations of how we should be and how we should be okay, you know, and especially after surgery, it's a very normalized thing. Surgery happens every day, every day. And so many people come out and bounce back or appear to bounce back, and they just get on with the life and they just suck it up, buttercup, let's go. And I felt so ashamed that I wasn't okay. And it got to the point where I was at school and I had no idea that I was traumatized, but I'd be looking around at everybody else and I'm just like, you know what? Like, am I just not very good at handling life? Is it me? Like, am I just not built to handle life? Because I'd watch everybody else sort of just going around their day to day, seeming really happy. And I was just like, and people always say, like, life's hard, man. You just got to get on with it. And I was just like, well, everybody else is so much better at just getting on with it, man. They are so much better at just getting on with it. Or maybe they're just better at hiding it. And I couldn't understand, but I could watch everybody else being like, you cannot crack. Like, these people are sucking it up. Why can't you do that? Because I never realized that actually I was carrying a hell of a lot of trauma. It wasn't just that I wasn't handling life very well. I had an extra burden that I couldn't talk about and I wasn't aware of, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, unpacking that now and sort of releasing that and coming to terms with it has been life-changing. I actually had a beautiful experience I'm living in Tiano, so I had an 11-hour drive by myself on the way down from the top of the South Island in New Zealand. And I would normally always have like loud music, something to distract me. Like I couldn't sit in silence. Like I couldn't be with myself. I was just like, no, I need distractions. I just need to not be able to hear what's craziness in my head. Like I just don't want to hear it. I just don't want to deal with it. Just get it out. And over the last year or so, I've been doing this gradual healing, like this more connection with myself. And my phone ran out during this drive, and I actually had to, kids are calling it raw dogging it now, raw dog it for about 5 hours. And it was so beautiful. And I think it was in that moment I realized, like, oh, you're doing really well. And I actually even kind of visualized sitting in my front seat next to me, my younger self, the one that I had been battling, that identity that I'd been battling for so long. I saw her, oh, sorry, sitting next to me in the car. And I just visualized us holding hands and driving together. And I just felt so at peace for those 5 hours, almost not talking to myself, but just sort of like letting all of these thoughts and all of these opinions of my past self just float through my mind and dealing with it and just kind of just like releasing it on the drive as we went and just feeling so at peace with myself was incredible. And that's why that's the core of this work that I'm doing. I built an online course to try and to teach any teenage girl how to reconnect like that and how to forgive that past self that is just so full of shame and rage and carrying so much weight instead of disconnecting with them. Because if I had done this work years ago when I was at my worst, I would have saved myself years of hating on myself. And I feel rather unstoppable now, but I've been stopping myself for over a decade because I never believed I was worthy of any more. And by reconnecting with myself and forgiving that part of myself and riding along with her instead of constantly bashing against her, like the freedom of your mind and everything is, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. So yeah, that was the longest way around of answering your question I think I've ever done. Sorry.
No, but I think that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure that little girl um, will be proud of you to see what you're doing today. So yeah, well done, Kim. I think you're doing great. Um, okay, to end on a positive note, uh, okay, can I quickly ask, like, what are some of the positive changes that you've seen? Because you've done this work in the last couple of years. You've been working on yourself and like really focused on this project and yourself, but also you've been doing your healing in the last few years. So, what are some of the positive changes that you've seen in yourself and in your connections, in your relationships?
Oh, my relationships have got deeper. The friends that I have now we have such a deep connection and it's such a rich friendship. And I'm able to sort of open up, ask for help, and I feel so much safer with the friendship group I have now because I'm gravitating towards people that will nurture me rather than constantly gravitating to people that will just help me escape. And in doing this work, I used to always have crazy sort of addictions and cravings, especially with like alcohol and drugs. And since doing this work, I don't need it. That craving to escape my life, it's not there anymore. I've got more energy. I sleep better. My anxiety's gone completely down, and it's just more joy. Like literally waking up with so much joy every day and just seeing the world around me and being so grateful for everything I have and everything that is going to happen and kind of truly leaning into that life happens for us, not to us. So yeah, oh my goodness, the positives have just been endless. And I'm really hoping this year, like one of the major positives will be I won't go back to hospital this year.
Woo!
That would be the best outcome for me. But no, just better relationships and like with myself, with my friends, with life, my family, being able to open up and actually feel safe showing people who you really are and leaning into who I really am and not being ashamed of it. I mean, I still get fucking scared of putting myself out there and worried about what other people think. That doesn't go away. I'm just much better at being like, break through that fear barrier. Even if it takes me a day or two, I'm still like much better at it because I know who I am. I know who I am. Finally, kind of know who I am and are pretty happy with who I am and really proud of myself instead of constantly challenging myself and telling myself I'm not good enough. So, yeah, like this work has just been revolutionary. And if I can help one other woman to come through this cloud of trauma and experience a life of joy and excitement and and progress and accomplishment, I've done my job. Even if it's just one woman, I will die a happy woman. So yeah, no. That's great.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks so much, Kim. This has been amazing. Thank you for being open. Thank you for being vulnerable. And thank you for being you. Thanks for doing everything that you do. I think you're adding a lot of value in this world. And I'm sure not just one, you're going to help a lot of women in their journeys. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Have a good one.